Brittany, who works with all our new and incoming students as well. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Other than that, Brittany, I will go ahead and hand it over to you and let you take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. All right, guys. So, like she said, my name is Brittany. I am one of the financial aid advisors here at UAT who specifically helps brand new students get started with us. Daniel Maples is my colleague who handles one half of the Alpha as well. Unfortunately, he could not be here with us, so it's just me today. But no worries, we will go ahead and get started with our agenda. So we are going to go over some basic information today. So what is financial aid, what tasks you may need to complete, what's next, and then at the very end, we will be doing a Q&A session. So in the meantime, what I would like you to do is somewhere on your screen, you should see the chat option and the Q&A option. Feel free to drop your questions into either area, and we will get to your questions either at the end, but some of you may get questions while I am presenting as well. So go ahead and be sure to put your questions in the chat. Now, let's go ahead and get started. So what is financial aid? Basically, financial aid is any source of aid that is being used to cover your education and just straight paying out of pocket. So this could be any sort of grants or scholarships, which the difference there is a grant is a need-based aid. Generally, this is going to be like your Pell Grant from the FAFSA. And then scholarships are merit-based usually. You've also got various types of loans, which we'll go over. Parent options, such as the Parent Plus loan, which is available to our dependent students. And then there's also federal work study. We do participate in this program. We also have alternative options of working on campus. So not all positions are strictly federal work study. We do have multiple opportunities. So if you have any questions about that, just reach out and we can help you get started. Now, if you have not already completed your 24 to 25 FAFSA, please do so immediately during this presentation, perhaps. It's extremely important to complete your FAFSA unless you are planning on paying your education totally out of pocket, or maybe you have VA benefits or some other sort of aid that you're not, or that you will be using instead of the FAFSA. But otherwise, again, if you have not completed your FAFSA, please do so ASAP. This is what that page should look like for you on the studentaid.gov website. So you'll see towards the bottom there, so start new form or access existing form. So that's important as well. You will want to make sure that you have added our school code. Now, when we receive the FAFSA, occasionally what happens is it creates a duplicate in our system that we need to merge, but that may mean that you've completed your FAFSA and we just haven't seen that yet. So please feel free to, or well, don't feel free, absolutely reach out to your financial aid advisor. Let us know that you've completed your FAFSA so that we can see if maybe a duplicate was created. Perhaps there was an issue with the FAFSA that needs to be fixed. We can help with that as well, but we want to get that sorted as soon as possible. So reach out, set an appointment. Again, we'll provide you with more information for that in a bit. But brass tacks, complete your FAFSA as soon as possible. All right, so when you're completing your FAFSA, what can you expect? Firstly, you'll want to have all of your financial documents ready for the 2022 tax year. Now, they've made a lot of changes to this FAFSA to make it a lot easier. In that instead of you having to manually enter everything or fiddle around with the IRS data retrieval tool, the very beginning of you beginning your part of the FAFSA, whether you're the student or if you're a contributor like a parent or a spouse, you will be given or giving the IRS and the Department of Education to speak to each other to automatically grab all that information for you. Now, some of the info may not translate, so they may ask you for sort of clarification. Maybe there's a couple of questions that they need you to answer. That's totally fine. You'll still want to make sure that you have these documents ready, but you may not need them. Which, speaking of contributors, you'll need to have your contributor info as well. So as you are filling out your FAFSA, at the end, they will ask you, hey, we noticed that we need to add such and such contributors. Maybe you're a dependent student and you have to add your parents. Maybe you're an independent student and you need to add like a new spouse. They will ask you for their name, their birthday, their social security number, and their email address so that they can be emailed a link to your FAFSA. So gone are the days where you have access to the entire FAFSA, which can get a little bit confusing on who should be entering what information. Now everybody has access to just their own pages, which makes it a lot simpler, a lot easier. And each contributor will also need to give permission to have the IRS and the Department of Education speak to each other to share that info. So just something to keep in mind. Now, as you are completing the FAFSA, be sure to read every question carefully. Next to each section, there will be a little icon. It'll look like a circle with an I in the middle. If you click on that, it'll give you more information on exactly what the question is asking you. So for example, let's say it's a tax information and you're not super sure where to find the answer. If you click on it, it will give you a guide on how to find that information. Now, let's say that you're completing your FAFSA and you have some unusual circumstances. So maybe you are someone who your tax information is super different right now than it was back in 2022. Maybe there's a change in occupation, maybe medical things are happening that are, changing your finances drastically. Whatever the case may be, you're still going to fill out the FAFSA true to 2022, but then you're going to reach out to your financial aid advisor, me or Danny, to let us know, hey, I have a special circumstance that I need to discuss with you. What next steps, what documents do you need? And then we can go through whatever your particular unusual circumstance might be. Now, at the end, everybody, whether you're the students or contributor, you have to make sure that you do not forget to review the information that you submitted and then sign the actual FAFSA. If you don't sign it, it'll come back missing info. We won't know what age you qualify for. So please be sure to, again, read through that application carefully to make sure that you're doing everything correct. If you do make a mistake, don't worry, we can help you correct it. It's just a matter of finding out what the issue might be. And that is another thing. We do review your FAFSA. So if we are flagged as there any potential missing information, we can let you know. We can collect additional documents, help you make those corrections, or potentially in the nearest future, we haven't gotten confirmation from the Department of Education quite yet, I don't think. But we may be able to help you make those corrections on your behalf as well. So we'll keep you posted on those options. All right, so let's say you've completed your FAFSA and now you need to know what next steps. Well, if you are going to be completing, or if you are going to be accepting your federal direct loans, there are two documents that you have to complete. One is the entrance counseling, the other is your master promissory note. Now, both of these documents combined go over all of the details that you need to know on how exactly those federal direct loans work. Now, they'll go over such things like different repayment options, how you might be eligible for loan forgiveness in the future, what happens if you go into default, all of your responsibilities, who to reach out to in certain situations. So everything, again, that you need to know is going to be addressed in these two documents. And then, of course, you're also agreeing that you understand they are loans, and loans do need to be repaid in some way, shape, or form. Like I mentioned, whether that is through a regular repayment plan or if you may qualify for loan forgiveness in the future. All right, so here is a link to the entrance counseling. Um, So I'll give you a moment just to get your phones out. You can scan this. We also will be providing you direct links as well. So if you miss it, if it's not working, or if you delete it later, that's totally fine. Take a moment to scan the QR code, and it'll take you directly to the entrance counseling, which is on the studentaid.gov website. So the same website that you completed the FAFSA on. And then here is the master promissory note. Again, take a moment to go ahead and scan the page. This is also found on the studentaid.gov website. Um, so this is actually the one where you are providing the understanding that it is a loan. You are agreeing to repay back a loan in some way, shape, or form. It will also ask you for two references. Now, these two references can be any two people, they just cannot have the same physical address. So, something to keep in mind. All right. So another document that will be needed is called the credit balance authorization form. Now, what the purpose of this document is for you to tell us if in the event you ever end up with a credit on your account. So if your financial aid exceeds the cost of attendance, what do you want us to do with those extra funds? Do you want us to retain it on your account for your second semester? That's a great option for students who are paying out of pocket. Basically, if there's extra in your first semester, we move it over to your second semester to bring down any payments in that second semester. And if there's still extra, we'll go ahead and provide you with a stipend check. The other option is to refund back to your loans. This is great for students who are trying to be a little bit more careful about borrowing loans. Um, Basically, we take that extra and we just pay it right on to the loan, starting with the loan with the highest interest rate. This goes directly onto the principal balance, I believe. Um, and again, is a great way to bring down the loans that you are borrowing. Which quick side note on that, when it comes to managing your loans, you do want to be careful. Students who are combining, paying directly on the loan while you're in school and in that grace period, as well as continuing to apply for scholarships, put themselves in a really great position. Some students are able to pay it down a lot by the time that they've graduated, and there have even been students who've been able to completely pay off their loans by the time that they graduate. It's a lot of hard work, but it is doable. So something to keep in mind. And then finally, there is the option where we will simply provide you with a stipend check. Now, this is ideal, especially for students who are living in the dorms. Unfortunately, we cannot transfer your balance from from your UAT account to your Founders Hall account. We have to provide you with a stipend check so that you can pay Founders Hall directly. So something to keep in mind as well. There is no wrong or right answer. It is completely up to you. And we can always make changes to this in the future. So just let us know if you'd like to make any changes.
I'm sorry, what?
All right, so
Yes.
once we have your FAFSA on file, we will be able to provide you with a financial aid offer or an estimate. This is an example of what that might look like. So as you can see at the top, we'll have your basic info, name, program of study,
Even
status,
so, what if I wasn't?
your student ID, your enrollment date, your academic year. Now for all of our students starting with us in the fall, your academic year is going to be your fall and spring semester. An academic year is always 2 semesters at a time. So your financial aid offer will show you the cost of attendance for 2 semesters. And you'll see that in those first 2 columns where the numbers begin. And then that last column on the right is the academic year total. So simple math, those 2 semesters added together. We always want to make sure that you are ready for the full academic year. So that is what we will be packaging you for. In that first half, you'll see that it totals up the cost of attendance as well as the prepayments. Prepayments are its own thing, so something to keep in mind. These are usually out-of-pocket expenses, not included as part of your cost of attendance because they're generally paid prior to beginning classes and not covered under financial aid usually. So for example, that seat deposit of $250, if you've already paid that, that locks your spot, that locks your tuition. But again, you would have paid that well in advance of us, perhaps even speaking about your financial aid. And the second half is where we discuss your actual financial aid. So, what you might qualify for in the Pell Grant, any loans, any other types of aid. So, that's just sort of a general rundown of what you'll be looking at on your financial aid offer. Um, Again, if you have not gotten a chance to discuss that with your financial aid advisor quite yet, reach out to us. We are going through them as soon as or as quickly as possible. We were a little bit delayed because the FAFSA was delayed by several months. So we are trying to catch up, but it is always easier to reach out to students when we do have an appointment with you, which we'll be able to provide you with those links here pretty soon, but you can always reach out to us directly as well. Okay, so a little of additional information regarding your personal contribution. So you would have seen that at the very bottom of the last page. But basically, your personal contribution is the difference between your cost of attendance, so all of the fees and tuition, minus the financial aid. So all of the grants, scholarships, student loans, so all of the aid that you have coming to you to cover your cost of attendance. So anything after that would be the gap. And there are many ways that we can go about actually
Yeah,
covering
Daryl. Look, man, I'm sorry,
said
okay?
gap, if there is one. If it's in parentheses, that means you exceed the cost of attendance with your financial aid. If it's not, if it's highlighted, that means we do need to come up with a plan. There are many ways to do that, as I mentioned. So these might be external scholarships. This could be work study, employee benefits, veterans benefits. Maybe there's a 529 plan, which is a college savings account. This could be vocational rehab. You could do private loans, the Parent Plus loan. If you are active duty, you might have access to tuition assistance. Perhaps grandma or grandpa are planning to help pay, or maybe you're just planning to pay out of pocket. Whatever the case may be, you and your financial aid advisor will discuss what options are available to you, what works best for you and your family, and we'll make sure that we have all of the documentation on hand to make sure that that happens. All right, so speaking of scholarships, there are a couple of links here for you. Now, that first link, the UAT Financial Aid Resources, this is something that we have set up. It provides you with information on how to go about the scholarship process. So setting goals, keeping track of everything, how to actually find scholarships. But there are also websites that host a ton of scholarships together. It makes it a lot easier for you to find those scholarships. One such website is Scholly, which I have linked here. Basically, you create an account, and based on the information that you put in your profile, Scholly will provide you with leads to scholarships that are most likely to apply to you, that you are most likely to be able to obtain. So I do encourage you to take a look at both of these links. And keep in mind also, when it comes to scholarships, you can and should be applying basically year round. So scholarships are not only for your first semester, they're not only for the fall semesters, they are available year round. Again, we can always be making changes to your financial aid plan. So please be sure to be applying. Let us know when you earn those scholarships, so we can celebrate you and make sure that they come into your UAT account. All right, now for those of you who will be borrowing private loans, we work with Sallie Mae, so that is our private loan lender. They offer some pretty awesome options, and actually, interestingly enough, not just for the students, but parent loans as well. So there's the Parent Plus loan, which is a federal loan, and then you have the alternative loans through Sallie Mae. Now, as far as Sallie Mae, when it comes to the students, it is highly likely that you will need a cosigner. So that's something to keep in mind. It doesn't necessarily have to be a parent. It can be anyone who's willing to cosign. And a cool thing that Sallie Mae has is once you have started your repayment, and you've been in good standing with them for at least 12 months, you can actually apply to have that cosigner removed. So it might just be a temporary measure to get you the aid that you need. Alrighty then. So when it comes to cash payments, so if you are in a position where you are actually just going to be making out-of-pocket payments, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. Now, firstly, you can pay for the entire semester outright, or whatever the remaining personal contribution balance is for that. Or you can set up monthly payments. Now, if you're setting up monthly payments, it is our policy, you have to set up for automatic withdrawal. So when I would send you the form to set this up, it's not going to ask you for your payment information. You're actually going to discuss that with the bursar. So her name is Leslie. She's lovely. She will be giving you a call, but I'll also provide you with her information so you can give her a call on your own or reach out on your own time. But she will be setting up the actual payment plan with you. Now that's if you're doing monthly. If you are doing the semesterly, you can pay over the phone with Leslie. You can make a payment through PayPal. You can send us a check, whatever works best for you. Just again, this is still something that needs documentation. So if this is your plan, please let your financial aid advisor know so that we can provide you with the proper documents to sign. Alrighty then. So what should you be doing next? As a reminder, if you haven't already completed your FAFSA, do so immediately. And this includes any other applications for aid as well. So your scholarships, if you are planning on using your VA benefits. So any applications you need to submit, do them now. If you will be borrowing any federal direct loans as a student, you must complete your entrance counseling and you must complete your master promissory note. You will also need to complete your credit balance authorization form. Most likely that is in your email. If not, let me know. I can make sure that we get that sent to you as soon as possible. And lastly, if you have not already, discuss your financial aid offer with your financial aid advisor. You may need to set an appointment. In fact, that is preferred. It helps us make sure that everyone is connecting. There's no phone tag. We are available over the phone. We can do a virtual meeting. I personally, unfortunately, am not available for in-person meetings, but Danny is, and all of our other financial aid advisors are available in person as well, if that is your preference. And here is our contact information. Now, if your last name begins A through L, you are actually one of Danny's students. So here's all his contact information. The QR code is actually for his meeting link. So that will allow you to set an appointment with him. It is connected to his calendar. So find a date and time that works for you. And then if you are M through Z, you are with me. Same thing, here is all of my contact information, and that QR code will lead you to my calendar so that you can set an appointment with me. Give you a moment just to get that information. And we'll move on. Now, she's the one who introduced me. The lovely Emily is your new student advisor. Now, if at any point you have questions about your enrollment, so like let's say, for example, maybe you want to change your major, you would speak with Emily about that. So she's more on the academic side. Please be sure to reach out to her. Let her know if you have any questions on that end. And then you can let me and Danny focus on your financial aid questions. All right, we are also having a Discovery Expo on August 10th. So we would love to have you join us. Here is our QR code so that you can RSVP for that event. It's a lot of fun. If you are an out-of-state student, we also actually have what's called a Discovery Scholarship. which we equip to our lovely out-of-state students who come and join us in person from out of state prior to them actually beginning classes, at least a month before. So I believe that August date should be just in time for anybody who hasn't quite made it to our campus yet. So again, I'll give you just a few more moments to scan that QR code and RSVP for our event. All right, so we have reached the end of our presentation today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. But now is the time for any questions. So, does anybody have any questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat. You can even raise your hand if you would like to maybe just verbalize it, but whatever works best. We'll give you some space to ask us some questions. I saw someone try to raise their hand, but then it went back down. I think I missed who that was. Okay, Kyle Dunn. Hi, Kylie.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes. Hello.
Okay. Hi. This is actually Kylie's mom, and because Kylie was not able to join the meeting, she is kind of out of pocket for the next 10 days. So
Okay.
I was a little late to join this in, and I was trying to kind of catch up and figure all this out. This meeting recorded?
Yes, I am recording this session. So we will be working with marketing to help disseminate this to everybody. But you can also set an appointment with your daughter's financial aid advisor so that we can maybe rehash this information and go into more detail that is specific to your daughter.
Okay. Great, because I believe Kylie probably missed 1 or 2 steps prior to this meeting. And like I said, she won't be back for another 10 days. And I just happened to see this on her phone, so I jumped in to make sure that I'm catching up on something. So yeah, we'll reschedule her for sure.
Perfect. Yes. So definitely we want to make sure that we get her with Danny. We'll make sure that you get that information, or that she gets that information. Most likely it's in her email, but I'm actually gonna make a note for myself to make sure that we send that to you separately as well. Okay.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And then I will definitely need some help with explaining the financial aid and all that to me, due to the fact that I'm not from this country and I do not understand any of that stuff. We did the FAFSA, and
Mhm.
anything else, I'm totally blank.
Absolutely. No worries. So during the financial aid consultation, we definitely go into all of that information. So we do provide detailed info regarding next steps, what the student may be eligible for in aid, how to access additional aid. So all of that, I promise, is discussed in much more detail during that consultation.
Thank you very much. That's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your question. All right, so I do have another question here. where do we turn in our checks or money if we choose to pay every semester? So excellent question. So you would actually send that directly to UAT. There is a particular way of doing so. So I am going to type that into the chat here. But you would just send it to our address, Attention Financial Aid. Or actually, sorry, Attention Bursar, since the Bursar is the one who actually handles the student accounts themselves. Any other questions? Don't be shy. You can raise your hand. I can allow you to speak. You can post it in the chat or in the Q&A. Okay. I do see one question relating to how to go about obtaining additional aid outside of the FAFSA. So again, that is something that can be discussed in more detail with your financial aid advisor, just so that we can provide you with information that is specific to you as the student. But there are many ways to go about getting said aid. There are a ton of scholarships out there. The last number that I saw was there was something like I think $1 billion worth of scholarships that were awarded in the past year. And there are still a ton of scholarships that don't go awarded at all because nobody is applying for them. Nobody has found it to apply for. So there, again, ton of scholarships out there. That one can be a little bit of a numbers game. I'll be honest with you. It's kind of a treasure hunt, so to speak. But it's definitely doable, just something to work at. There's additional loans that we can provide you information to help you apply for that. You may have access to sources of aid that you weren't aware of. Maybe your employer provides benefits. That's always something that you can reach out to for that as well. If you are with a particular church, oftentimes churches will provide scholarships and financial aid to their members as well. So there are multiple sources of aid. It's really sometimes just a matter of brainstorming what you in particular might have access to. All right, so what are the deadlines to get all of the forms completed? This is an excellent question. Now, when it comes to getting everything completed, again, classes begin on September 9th. Ideally, we have to get these things completed prior to you beginning classes. For those of you who are moving into the dorms, we want to make sure actually that you have completed your financial aid prior to you moving into the dorm. So at least a week before you are joining us here at UAT. Now, The process of completing your financial aid can be as quick as you want it to be. So the sooner that you complete your forms, your FAFSA, for example, the sooner your financial aid advisor will be able to provide you with the information that you need in order to complete all of the other documents to secure all of your aid. If you're in a position where you do need to seek additional sources of aid to cover any gap, then you need to have that conversation even sooner to give you the time to do so. There are certain sources of aid that it can take a little bit of time to process. So, for example, if you are using veterans benefits, it can take a while for the Veterans Department to process your form, your application to take advantage of any veterans benefits that you are entitled to. Same thing with tuition assistance. You have to begin that process with your education officer prior to ever beginning classes. Otherwise, you will not be eligible for that aid. So the best answer I can give is the sooner the better. Allow us the time to get to you and provide you with the information you need so that when you are moving in, when you're starting classes, you don't have to worry about financial aid or, should you be attending classes? You should. You should be attending classes, even if you are one of those students who needs a little bit of additional time. But allow us to help you get in a position where you can start classes and not worry about the finances. Thank you for the question. That was a good one. I'll give you guys a few more minutes just in case there are any last minute questions. All right, so I think that is probably it. I don't see any other raised hands or any other questions posted. So I think I'm gonna end it here today. If there are any other last minute questions that you think of later, please reach out to us. You can reach out to me, Danny, Emily, even. She can always forward any questions that you have directly to us in case you lose our information. That's pretty common. So no worries there. But again, let us know if anything comes up. We are happy to assist where we can. Be sure to set an appointment with us as well. But otherwise, we are so looking forward to you joining us in the fall. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Recording stopped.